Good morning, everybody. I'm Mark Healy. Those of you who know me from Twitter, Mark C. Healy. I am the editor-in-chief of the Wave newspaper in Rockaway Beach, New York. And I'm also the author of Gotham Baseball, New York's all-time team, as well as the executive editor of GothamBaseball.com. So yesterday, obviously, was devastating for a lot of Met fans, learning that Edwin Diaz will probably be out for the season. The all-star closer, after celebrating the WBC victory over the Dominican Republic, basically tore his patelin and is basically going to be out for the season. Hopefully this isn't a, career-ending injury or a career-altering injury for Edwin, but obviously it was a very emotional, very raw day for Mets fans. Losing their all-star closer. I mean, this is an all-in season for the New York Mets, and losing your closer in any way, is certainly just maybe soul crushing for Mets fans. We've been waiting a long time for an owner that invests in this team and whose stated goal is to win a World Series. I know I've been waiting a long time for that. Oh, and by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. This is the Ireland national team of Ireland's baseball cap, and I'm proud to wear it because I support their efforts. And that's the thing that gets me today, because I was very raw. I woke up, as I tweeted yesterday. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. The dog woke me up because he's old and he doesn't know what time it is, so he wakes me up. And I let him out in the backyard, and so I always look at Twitter to see what's going on, what's cooking. And I saw what happened with Edwin Diaz. So needless to say, I didn't go back to sleep. I was wide awake. And so, look, I've never, ever liked the WBC. Never. When it was first conceived in 2006, I was not a fan. Partly because I knew that it would be a distraction. And this is all that matters to me, okay, folks, because a lot of people said a lot of nasty things to me yesterday, and I don't care. I mean, here's the thing. I got called a lot of names yesterday. Some of them, I want to keep this clean. Some of them I can't even repeat on this video. But I didn't block any of those people. I didn't mute any of those people because I feel people are entitled to their opinion, whether it agrees with mine or not. It's not my opinion is right, your opinion is wrong. I have a stated opinion. All I care about is the New York Mets. I do not like the WBC. I've never have, because it's a distraction. When I read yesterday that people were telling me, well, there are people who would rather win a chip, which I hate, by the way, stop saying that, who would rather win a WBC trophy than win a World Series. And I said, well, that's the issue for me. If you care, if you play for the Mets, if you came on board the New York Mets power train, okay, if you came on board like Max Scherzer did, I want to win a World Series, and you talk about this is the goal. I came here to win a World Series. And you'd rather win a WBC championship, if you want to win one, great, knock yourself out. But if you'd rather win a WBC title than win the World Series, then I really would prefer that you go play somewhere else. Yeah, I really do. I do, because the focus is the World Series here. This is the focus. This is what we came here to do. This is why we acquired you. This is why we traded for you. This is why, that's the stated goal for the Mets, is to win the World Series, is to compete and win for a World Series. Anything else is a distraction, whether it's the WBC, whether it's, off-road, bike riding, whether it's, pickup basketball games, Aaron Boone, like anything else is a distraction. Anything that stops you from focusing on and playing for, to win the World Series, to me, I don't care about it. And now, we've gotten to the point where, if you feel differently, I mean, I got called so many names yesterday. that I'm a borderline racist because I don't like the WBC, that I'm jingoistic. All I care about is America. It's so ridiculous. No, all I care about is the Mets. I care about the Mets, and I care about winning a World Series. And it just got a lot harder because the Mets don't have their all-star closer now. Thank God the Mets signed David Robertson and brought back Adam Ottavino, because now they have at least some veteran guys at the back of that bullpen that know how to pitch in those spots. But again, and I tweeted this yesterday too, the Mets, after the Mets signed those guys and got Brooks Raley, who, oh, by the way, had to pull out of the WBC because he pulled his hamstring. I wonder how that happened. Maybe because he was amping up too early to go play in an international competition that has nothing to do with Major League Baseball. And I know, folks, I know it has something to do with Major League Baseball, but it doesn't have anything to do with winning a championship. That has nothing to do with winning a World Series. So I'm sure people will pick apart everything I say like they did yesterday. And I said, it's a good thing that the Mets focused on pitching, signing pitchers with options rather than getting the best players that they could get. I know the Mets signed veteran pitchers, but then they shifted gears and they shifted lanes and only wanted to, sign guys that had options remaining. Well, if you have options remaining, then you're not going to be as good as someone who's established. Maybe the Mets get lucky. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. I certainly hope I'm wrong. But, I look at the Mets bullpen and now they're like one major weapon short. So again, the road to the World Series just got a lot harder. And that's really what my focus is. It has nothing to do with anything else. People say, oh, don't you think that people should be able to play? I really don't care. All I care about is the Mets. What are you going to do for the Mets? How are you going to play for the Mets? Brandon Nimmo and Senga are both saying, look, I'm here to win a championship with the Mets. That's why I'm not participating in the WBC. I'm not 100% in Senga's case. Like, he knew he wasn't going to be 100%. And he, and again, like, it doesn't mean that Pete Alonso or Francisco Lindor or, Jeff McNeil shouldn't be playing in the WBC, but I don't care about Team USA either. What is playing for Team USA have to do with the Mets? It doesn't have anything to do with the Mets. So I'm not rooting for them. I'm not watching them. I haven't watched a single inning of the WBC since it started because it has nothing to do with the Mets. And that's all I care about. So if you want to yell at me, you want to call me names, and you want to say this or that, look, this is not a fake opinion. This is not contrived. This is not some media clickbait. It is what it is. Now, you can either agree with me or you can, not agree with me. Most people seem to, be split as to how I feel. But don't put me in some box that you think that I agree with, whoever. To me, the WBC is nothing more than a distraction. Do I understand that players want to play for their country? Yeah, I get that. I understand it. If somebody offered me and that I was good enough to play for, a team from Ireland or a team from Italy, I would think about playing, certainly if I had the ability. But if I played for a team that was, the Mets or the Yankees or a team like that, that's, the Braves, that was like, look, guys, we're here to win a World Series, so you can go play in the WBC, but I'd rather you didn't because we have work to do. Now, I would understand that. I'd be like, okay, I get it. Some guy yesterday says, well, if you grew up in the slums of the Dominican, I mean, what? What does one thing have to do with the other? First of all, I grew up in the streets of Brooklyn. My dad was an orphan in the streets of Brooklyn, and the team that he loved was the Brooklyn Dodgers. And that's what he fell in love with. I fell in love with the New York Mets. I get it. I get it that there are people out there that really care about the WBC. I get it. I don't. I just don't. And I can't even state the opinion. I didn't say get rid of it. I didn't say ban it. All I said is that, I would rather the guys that are on the team that I root for, the New York Mets, focus on winning a championship. And if you're playing in the WBC, your focus is not 100% on your team. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They might not like that. Might not like me saying that, but to me, it's the truth. And, in this week's paper, The Wave, that's the paper that I am the editor-in-chief for. I wrote my column this week about the WBC. And I made it pretty clear. I hate the WBC. And this John Jastrzebski, that's my next door neighbor here on our page. But this is how I feel. I hate the WBC. And, again, we don't have to agree. I don't care whether you agree or not. And it's not my goal. I'm not starting a movement, ban the WBC. I'm not. I just don't like it. And I love it that people decided to lump me in with other people who may have stated something similarly, but then took personal pot shots at players and things like that. I didn't do any of that. The only person that pot shots were taken were at me and calling me names. And, and again, I don't, to me, if you feel that strongly about it, knock yourself out. But again, if you play for the Pirates, if you play for the Royals, if you play for whoever, and you feel like your team isn't focused on winning a World Series and you really want to go play in the WBC, knock yourself out. Great. But if you play for a team that has the World Series as its stated goal, when you walk in the door, when you sign that contract and you say, I want to be a member of the Mets because I want to win a World Series, then that should be the only thing that matters. You want to do the other stuff. Think about, just think about it, man. Because this is a fan base that if you fail during the course of a pennant race, you're going to hear about it. If it's August and all of a sudden you're tired and you're talking about, oh, I need a day off. Well, maybe you shouldn't have played these super intensive games in the WBC in March. Because that's what's going to happen. This is New York. This isn't, Kalamazoo, where people don't care and they're just happy to have something to root for. People live and die with the Mets. And maybe that's lunacy. If that's the case, then I'm a lunatic. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I've said this a million times. I don't sail. I don't hike. I don't ski. I don't, I love the Mets. And whatever time that I have, when I'm not at work and I'm not being a dad and I'm not being a husband, I enjoy my Mets and I live and die with them. When the Mets win, I'm in a good mood. When the Mets lose, I'm in a bad mood. That's my team. For 162 games and hopefully a long run in the postseason, that's how I roll. So I don't like anything that gets in the way of that. So sue me, if you don't like it. But if you think that I'm some kind of, as I said, I'll use your words, jingoistic, borderline racist, old white guy. Well, I'm white. I'm old. Well, I got a white beard, but I'm not that old. I'm 54. I'll be 55. I guess that's really old to a lot of people, but I don't know. I don't feel old. But some guy called me an F-twad, loser, whatever. If you feel the need to do that, if it makes you feel better, to name call people or whatever, it's fine. But to me, I look, you disagree with me, great, but I'm not looking to start a movement here. I just don't like it. In fact, as I wrote this week, I hate it. Now I hate it. I'm always going to hate it now. I always kind of sort of didn't like it. And then somebody said to me yesterday, oh, what about when Team USA won and David Wright was on the team? And I was like, yeah, I was happy for David because David was trying to, come back from an injury. And David was trying to get his career back in order. So I wasn't going to root against David to do that. And, he needed to play. He hadn't played in a while and he needed to play. And it was great. But I didn't watch any of those games. I didn't watch a single one. Because I don't care about the WBC. I don't. I just don't. I care about the Mets, and I care about spring training, and I care about getting ready for the season. I don't think the WBC helps you get ready for the season. Just like I don't think throwing 100 miles an hour in spring helps you get ready for the season. You know, it is a slow and steady, a slow and steady wins the race. That's it is a marathon. It is 162 games. It is the longest regular season of any sport. It's not football that's once a week. It takes a lot to be a fan of a team for 162 games. And when you factor in that I've been a Met fan since 1975, and win, lose, or draw, I have been there. I yes, the World Series is the stated goal. It doesn't mean I stop rooting for the Mets or dump the Mets because they don't win a World Series. At the end of the day, if I know that ownership is committed, if I know that the front office is doing everything that it can to build a winner, if I know the players are focused on winning the World Series for the fans, then that's what I ask for. Playing in the WBC does not fit in that equation. I'm sorry. I get it. People want to play for their country. I don't like it. And, don't use soccer as your argument with me, because anyone that knows me, and I personally, I think people told you offline to use soccer, so it would drive me, insane. I hate soccer too. Hate it with every fiber of my being. Played it for 3 years. Hate it. And I'll always hate it. I'll never like it. People are like, well, you really should watch soccer. Or no, I did it. I've been there. I've done that. No, I hate it. There's no, when I liked soccer? In Victory, movie Victory with Sylvester Stallone. I liked soccer for that moment. And if I had Apple TV, I'm a journalist. I don't make a lot of money. If I had Apple TV Plus, I'd watch Ted Lasso. I probably like that because it's fictional. I don't like soccer. I hate it. So don't use soccer as your ballyhoo there. Like, oh yeah, well, if you understood, if you really discover. Somebody said I had no culture yesterday. I got plenty of culture, pal. I just, the Mets is what I care about. All right. I don't need to be explained why players want to play for their country. I get it. I just don't like it. And I don't have to like it. Okay. I have to like the Mets is what I care about. So you can craft whatever argument you want to craft. You can yell about whatever you want to yell. You can name call me whatever you want to name call me. But at the end of the day, I care about the Mets. These are my honest opinions. And, thanks for listening, and thanks for following. And, and if you don't want to follow anymore, and you don't want to listen, or you don't want to watch, you don't want to hear the podcast whenever we do it, that's okay. You knock yourself out. Do it as what you do. Just don't ask me or tell me how to feel. Don't presume to tell me that I have no culture because I don't like the WBC. And please do not compare the WBC to the Olympics, because it's not. Okay? It's just not. It's not. And it's just stop. It's not the same. And again, I'll state this one more time. If there's a player on the Mets that really believes that they would rather win a WBC title than win a World Series for the Mets, please request a trade. Okay? Request a trade. That's not, and again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to play in the WBC. But if you really truly feel, and I'm being honest here, if you really truly feel you'd rather win a WBC trophy than win a World Series with the Mets, please request a trade, and we'll, hopefully that Billy Epler will be able to, satisfy your needs. Go play for a team that just can't get out of its own way, so that the fans won't care whether or not you get hurt, during the WBC, or don't care that your arm doesn't. Remember Seth Lugo in 2017? See, people seem to forget that. In 2017, he pitched so much during the WBC, he couldn't start the season off right. and was kind of banged up that season. I don't know his numbers off the top of my head, but I do remember being annoyed how much he pitched during the 2017 WBC. Not that the Mets went anywhere in 2017, but you get my drift. It certainly didn't help the process. And I'm all about the process. You know, come to spring training, get ready for the season, win the World Series. That's the only thing you should be focused on. And if you have a problem with that, if you think I'm some kind of xenophobic old white guy, well, I guess that I guess that's what I am to you. But that's not who I am to me. I don't fit in your little box, folks. I care about the Mets. That's the box I want to be in. I care about the Mets deeply. I want the Mets to win a World Series. And look, and again, if you're come here, if you're part of this team, that should be your focus too. Fine, you want to go play in the WBC, better not get hurt. Better not mess yourself up for the season, because you're going to hear it. And what happens? What happens when you get booed? Are we going to do the thumbs down again? Are we going to, protest the fans because they're not happy with what they just paid $40 in parking for? Again, like people seem to think that we're not invested. We're invested. I don't have a lot of disposable income, but I try to get to a few games every year, even though the parking is $40 now. I try to get a hot dog and a beer, and hang out with my son and watch a game. But it's getting more and more expensive, and I get it. I understand it. And sometimes I can afford to go, and sometimes I can't. But I'm not going there to be some casual fan that just, puts on a cap or puts on a jersey. I'm invested in that game. I'm invested in every game. I'm looking for a W every game I can. And that's what my thought process is. That's where my passion lies. And if you have a problem with that, fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But don't think that this is based on anything other than the Mets, because that's all it's based on. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me, folks. My column comes out. Gotham Baseball column comes out every Friday in the Wave newspaper, and also online. I'll be posting it up later today. Love to hear what you think, even if you disagree. And really always enjoy talking to you folks, out there in Twitter land.